Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. And I thank you for joining us. Yes, today is December 24th, 2020. It is Christmas Eve, or the day of Christmas Eve. And we're joining you today because, well, we don't want to be the Grinch of Christmas. That's already been assigned to President Trump. But we do want to make sure you know what is that lump of coal that you are getting from Congress. We want you to understand why you're getting it, and also what does this mean for 2021. There's a lot of information here, and you're not being told enough. In fact, you're being misled, we believe. So let's explain exactly what we're talking about. But before we get to that, let me mention that if this is the first time that you're seeing the program, we do long-form political commentary. And every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live stream simulcast on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube when the internet overlords allow us to, where you're able to respond back to us about the issues and how you feel about what's going on in our country. And you can even call into the program. We look forward to seeing you on Sunday. Now, that being said, what's going on? Did Americans just be given a lump of coal? Is President-elect Biden looking to give us an even larger barrel full of coal for 2021? Is this good for the world? What's really going on? Let's answer this question. Now, we have to start with, where's our economy? What's going on? Real simple. According to U.S. Debt Clock, the United States is currently at $27.5 trillion in debt. That is an astronomical number. It is almost the kind of numbers used to tell you how far the distance is between one planet and the sun. It is a ridiculously large number. To put it a little bit more in context, the United States government spends, on average, about $4.1 trillion a year. This has been true for about the last 15 years. And that means that we add, on average, about $1.3 trillion in debt every single year. That is a massive amount of money. It's one of the reasons why, throughout the Obama administration, we added $10 trillion to the national debt. That doubled the amount of debt in America in our history. In fact, under President Obama, that $10 trillion is equal to the amount of the entire debt of the United States government from its inception. We are now looking at breaking that number, and in a very large way. We are looking at adding, just in this year, if the spending bill, and no, it's not a COVID relief bill, if the spending bill goes through with $2.3 trillion in debt, the United States will spend in 1 year $9 trillion. It's about $5 trillion in debt, about half of all the debt created by the Obama administration in 1 year. This is not a good thing for America. It does not help the dollar. It increases inflation. It destroys our economy internationally. But let's go beyond that. Looking at appropriations, and let me help you understand, an appropriations bill is what is our spending. This is what gives the government a right to spend money. And there's either usually an omnibus spending bill, which covers all the spending the United States does, domestically and internationally. And then there's what's called a continuing resolution, which lets us keep going and increases our debt, but it doesn't pay for everything all at once. The only thing that can do that is what's called an omnibus spending bill. Now, this is all under appropriations. And we've been seeing that year over year, it's taken more continuing resolutions to actually get to an omnibus bill. We keep pushing back further and further the actual cost. It's kind of like having a credit card bill and you're making the minimum payment rather than making a larger payment on the debt that you owe, which makes it worse over the long time, over the long period, because you're paying more in interest and you're getting further and further behind in each payment that you make. And we've seen that this has been something very continuous and normalized almost, looking at from 2013 through 2018. And in fact, under President Trump, we've seen that it has become rampant because each year, as we have a more partisan divide in our government and in our country, we have a huge divide in the appropriations, especially given to President Trump. It's a big deal. It's a big deal because this kind of situation leads to what you might hear as funding gaps. What that actually is means a shutdown of the government. Now, this isn't a new thing. In fact, they've been happening about once every couple years, 2 to 3 years. Most of it has happened in the last 40 some odd years. We've seen that mostly happen under President Carter. But separate of that, we see that this has happened to pretty much every president consistently, with the longest period being on December in 2019, where from December 21st, 2018 until January 25th, 2019, the government completely shut down. Now, normally this is not a big deal, except we have been told by the news media and many politicians that it is the worst thing that could possibly happen, that America is destroyed each time it happens, even though we survive each time. It does cause problems, but it's not as big as a problem as it's always made out to be. The problem is that we have been told, and we are getting reinforced, the government is the most important part of America, not the people. That the government must always operate and must operate under whatever whims it wants without input from the American people. It's kind of like when we heard from President Obama back in 2013. We were told over and over again when the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare was being passed that you're going to keep your doctor, that this would reduce the cost of health care, and it would maintain or improve the quality of care. And as we wrote about back in 2013, October of 2013, that's a lie. Because the Obama administration knew as early as July 2010, as reported by NBC News, that it wasn't true, that you would lose your doctor, as over 7 million Americans did, that the quality of care would go down and the cost would go higher. And that has been true from then until today. But we've also heard things like from Nancy Pelosi, when she ever so famously said,
"But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it."
Again, these are statements where government is telling us they are in charge, that they are essential to your life, and that what they decree, you must live with. I think it was never said more eloquently than by President Obama, and this was back in 2012, when he said that you didn't build this. And let's actually look at what he said, because it's important to understand, and all of this is important to understand, to know what's going on right now, to give you context about what's going to happen in 2021. Something that is missing in the nightly news when they give you 30 seconds or a minute and a half to try and absorb these big issues that affect 330 million people. back in July 13th of 2012, Obama said that if you were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. Well, I want to rephrase this a little bit. And every time you hear the word somebody, where it's in the text, we're going to interject the word government, because that's what he meant. And President Obama said, quote, paraphrasing, if you were successful, government along the line gave you some help. There was a great teacher somewhere in your life. Government helped to create this unbelievable American system that we have allowed you to thrive. Government invested in the roads and bridges. If you've got a business, you didn't build that. Government made it happen. The internet didn't get invented on its own. Government research created the internet so that all the companies could make money off the internet. Again, we are being told over and over again, government is responsible for your success, your quality of life, for your business, for everything you do. You as an individual don't matter. Government matters. And what matters most in government are those elected officials, the neo-nobles that rule over you. Not your power over the government, but their power through the government over you. This is troubling because this trend has led to what we see today when we see $2.3 trillion has been spent and the American people only gets $900 billion of that. Let's debunk something that's been going around in social media for some time. You may have seen people in the news media talking about the COVID-19 relief bill. And then they separately talk about the omnibus funding bill. You've heard people talk about on the internet, talking about the COVID-19 relief bill being completely separate of the appropriations, the spending bill of the government. They're wrong. That's not true. As reported by NPR, when we were given on December 21st the first chance to actually read the 5,593-page spending bill of the government, an all-time record in the size of a bill, meant to be very confusing to the public, we found out that this was actually a text of the House amendment to the Senate amendment to H.R. 133. I know, people don't tell you what it is. The spending bill, the COVID-19 relief portion of that bill, is actually an amendment to H.R. 133, which we covered earlier this week, is a bill from a Texas Democrat dealing with Mexico-U.S. relations. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but that's how Congress works. It sticks things into bills that have nothing to do with what actually happens to you. And the government often doesn't want you to be able to find this to read about it. But we know that this bill is, in fact, not only the spending for $2.3 trillion, but we know that the very last thing it deals with, as cited here in Title 21, is the COVID-19 Regulatory Relief and Work from Home Safety Act. They are one and the same bill. Now, to put this simply, you are being lied to. You're being told they're separate things and that Congress went out of its way to protect you. They didn't. What they did instead is they went out and they threw this in and you were an afterthought. That's why you probably also saw on the internet this equation, which works out to about 9 cents an hour. It's not quite right, but it's close. It's very close. Because you were the afterthought. And we know, and we've heard about in the news media, as we went through it before, talking about this, about what's in the bill as we presented, This includes $845,100,000 for the funding of the government of Jordan. It includes the $10 million being spent on gender programs in Pakistan and other wasteful spending that has nothing to do with COVID relief, the American economy, and businesses closing everywhere. You've been lied to. You have been misled. You have been told things that aren't true. And they're counting on the fact that you didn't have a chance to read the bill. And even when we hear politicians like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, when she comes out and says, we didn't have enough time to read the bill, this was so wrong, this was so terrible. But like many other politicians, she voted for the bill. She voted for it, even as she complained. In fact, almost everyone in Congress voted for the bill, except for 53 individuals, which we highlighted when we were talking about who said no to this bill. And the fact that on December 22nd, the House and the Senate knew President Trump was going to veto this bill. It wasn't a guess. It isn't a surprise. It isn't a tantrum by President Trump, as much of the news media is trying to present to you today. They knew this was going to happen, and they had a plan to come back on December 29th to put through a override on the veto. Again, you have been misled by the government. You have been misled by Congress and the news media to believe things that aren't true. You've been told that this is a tantrum and a sudden action by President Trump that could not be accounted for. That's not true. And they told us this. They just count that you didn't pay attention. We've been told that this is about COVID relief. It isn't. We've been told that the focus was on the American people, even though less than half of all spending is actually focused on the American people and American businesses. That's why we say this is a lump of coal being given to America, because you have been misled. You're told that this is about something it isn't. You've been told that the spending is focused on you when it isn't. You've been told that the government is essential to your life and that you as an individual don't matter as much as the government matters. That isn't true. Again, this is a problem, and when you put it into context, it's incredibly troubling. It is a problem for freedom. It is a problem for America. And this is happening during the holidays, when you are least likely to pay attention to the details, when you are most focused on your family, and when anything that may disrupt your time together, even in a COVID-19 environment, you're upset. And they're counting on that. But that's why we're here, giving you context to let you know this is a lump of coal. But we also said, what about 2021? How is this going to affect America going forward? Because Joe Biden is looking to become president, potentially, on January 20th. What is he saying about this? Where is his voice? Well, we know that back on November 26th, Joe Biden has said he wants to increase new taxes against gun owners in violation of the Second Amendment as a punishment for those who may own firearms. And this has been reported by several news outlets. This is a new tax at a time where America is suffering from COVID-19, where the economy is falling apart, where we know for a fact that 1 in 5 businesses have already closed, where we have been told by business and institute and study over and over again that if we lock down America, if we continue on the path we are on, that somewhere between 40 to 60% of remaining businesses will close. And that's whether or not they get additional funding. That the WHO has already come out and said that lockdowns are the worst thing possible for the community, because it increases suicide, domestic abuse, alcohol and drug addiction, and that it destroys the economies, creating more starvation and more death than it actually prevents. And we know that it's already been reported, as we have covered, already overdose deaths have reached an all-time high of 81,000 plus because, in large part, the COVID lockdowns. But Joe Biden is focused on whether you do or do not own a firearm and how he can punish you for that. We know that Joe Biden has said that he's looking forward to preventing Medicare for all. And while we do support that, this is in violation of what he's told progressives, something that they have been looking forward to. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, seemingly in violation of the deal he made to get the presidential nod. Where does this leave us? Well, it leaves us with a question. We know that the bill is for funding America. We know that the COVID-19 relief was an add-on and not the biggest part of it. We know that the majority of Congress voted for this and the majority of the Senate as well. We know that spending inside the bill has been wasteful. And we know that they have been expecting a veto. So what does that leave us with? Well, it leaves us with a question that even as...
Your own
Oops,
home.
one second.
It's more than just a house.
Oops. That leaves us with a question. Where is Joe Biden? We searched for this and we put in under the term Biden, veto, COVID. Where's his comment? Where's his statement on this? And this is live. I just checked it again. He's not making a comment. He has nothing to say about this. He wants to talk about his new education secretary, even as the media tells us that Trump is on a rampage, that he is acting out. But the question we have to say is, where is Joe Biden? Where is the leadership he promised? Where does he stand on this? When we look at the BBC covering this, we know that President Trump is fighting this. He says that American people should get paid $2,000 per person and more should be done for American businesses. There's more than enough money available to do that, or more than enough debt spending to do that. So where's Joe Biden? Well, according to the New York Times, he said Joe Biden is looking at spending even more money under his name. He's avoiding any comments here because he's waiting until he gets in power and then he wants to spend the money. So that should make people wonder, why is he waiting? If this is so essential for American businesses and the American people, why is he willing to accept Congress giving the American people a lump of coal until he can take credit for it? Well, it goes back to a fundamental thought, I believe, and something that we've just mentioned to you. Because he believes now what he believed and supported under President Obama. If you were successful, government along the line gave you some help. It's about government power. It's about government control. It's about the government picking sides. And in particular, we now see the various political parties, Nancy Pelosi, Schumer, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, many others, saying, well, we were going to give you the help. We were going to do this for you. Except Republicans stopped you. Republicans are the problem. Well, the spending on Pakistani gender studies or gender programs, that's not a Republican issue. That's a Democratic issue. That's an identity, gender, politics issue. That's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So I have a problem with believing that. Again, that leaves us a question. What's going on? And the answer is government is taking power away from you. Government is saying they are more essential and you are not important. You're just here to be led. Government is out there saying they're going to give you money and then they'll give you more free money. And of course, it's your free money. They're going to give you $600. Wait, they're going to give you $2,000. Wait, they're going to give you even more money in 2021. All you have to do is wear a mask as mandated. All you have to do is be separated from your family, even during the holidays. All you have to do is comply and give up your freedom and give up your Second Amendment rights and give up your First Amendment rights. To lose the right to speak on the internet, to review information, you have to accept being censored. This is what they are saying to you. This is the problem. So when we say, and we have said, Congress is offering you a lump of coal, and that Joe Biden is offering you even more, we're serious. And this is the problem that America finds itself in right now. Yes, $2,000 would be better than $600. Yes, the American people need it, with potentially up to 12 million people being evicted on February 1st. The $600, I guess you would call it pittance, isn't going to make a difference. And yes, it would mandate that the American people would be subservient to a Joe Biden presidency where he hands out more of our own money back to us. But that doesn't improve the economy. That doesn't help the American people. And Joe Biden being silent, promising only more money when he's in power and when he can take credit for it and advance his political agenda, isn't helping America. That's not leadership. Leadership isn't about promises. False promises, fake promises, promises that put government over the people. That's not leadership. You know, when we look at what was said, let's go back to the BBC. Joe Biden said that the coal that's being given to the American people as part of this funding bill is a down payment. He said that Congress did its job this week. That's not a statement. It's a deferment. He said that I can and must ask them to do it again next year. Then you didn't do your job. Then he's admitting Congress failed to do its job. Because if it did its job, we wouldn't have to do it again in the future. You know, he said, Joe Biden has said the pandemic will be the first priority, the second priority, and the third priority. Well, guess what? That isn't the best answer. I mean, let's think about it. The first priority should be the American people, not only in just their health, but also the economy, which is part of our health, which is a key part of what makes us the greatest nation in the world. It's about respecting our freedoms, the First Amendment, our right to assemble, our right to speak, as well as our right to defend ourselves. There's a lot of things that have to be considered. And to say that the only thing that we have to consider is the COVID-19 crisis, that's not accurate. That's passing on that lump of coal and promising to give you even more. It's saying that government is more important than you, because government is here to help, because they never do. They're part of the problem. And this singular focus, which has failed so far in 2020, is going to be failing in 2021. I know, it's not the best news that you could possibly hear. To see this and to know that this is what they're planning, it doesn't make you feel better. It just doesn't. But what does make us feel better is to know you have full context now. you have a full understanding. Did Congress give the American people a lump of coal? Yes, they did. They put other priorities ahead of the American people, even as they promised us this was their priority, that this was their focus. And it wasn't. It's demonstrably true. And we have to understand that Joe Biden isn't looking to change that. He's looking to add to it. Because sadly, we can say, government is looking for you to be subservient, to rely on them, because you didn't do it. You can't do it. Going back to Obama. If you were successful, government along the line gave you some help. Because it's about government. So you got coal for Christmas in 2020. And you're going to get more coal in 2021. And Joe Biden is going to sit on the sidelines and not do anything until he can take credit. And when he does, he's not going to do anything to help you. He's going to do everything to make you more subservient. This is what the media is not telling you. This is what our politicians are avoiding. This is why you're being told about COVID-19 relief, when in fact, it's about helping everyone else. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you think we got this wrong. Well, that's okay. Because on Sunday and every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you get the chance to speak to us in our live stream and to tell us what you think, whether you agree or whether you disagree. And by the way, as another bonus, it is Christmas. Tomorrow, December 25th at 1 p.m., we will be premiering our top 2020 list. The top videos that we have provided over the year that you, by your viewership, have considered the best. We look forward to you seeing that, and again, looking to hear your comments about it. We hope everyone will have a great Christmas. We hope that this lump of coal from Congress does not stop you from having peace and joy. We hope that the lockdowns and restrictions from Governor Cuomo, Newsom, Whitmer, and so many others will not stop you from being with family and loved ones. We hope that you will not have to suffer from domestic abuse, from thoughts of suicide, from drug addiction. We want you to be healthy and well and look forward to you to be with us on Sunday and in the new year and far, far beyond. Folks, we give you our best wishes. Let's take this lump of coal. Let's give it back to Congress. Let's take back our country, and let's move forward together. We thank you. We wish you the best. This is No Soundbites Allowed. I am your host, Michael Voss, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.